in attendance for the past 2 days as Fadil Adams gives his testimony before the Madanga Commission. However, during today's testimony where he came into the public gallery and was actually seated right here in the corner, during the tea adjournment he chose to go past the boundary of the public gallery and then enter into the media space, go past that area and head to the witness box over the red line. And when he returned, that is when he confronted a journalist and accused him of taking photos and placing it on a social media app, and that's when the alleged threats may have been communicated rather to the journalist. And subsequently Herman Malloy of the Sowetan went and opened that case of intimidation against Stuart James, and we do see that there was swift action by the police as the police were waiting outside the public entrance of the Madanga Commission to give effect to that particular action that you saw live, where he was arrested and placed into the back of that vehicle and was taken off with the South African Police Services. So very swift action from the Madanga Commission following a very disturbing incident where that journalist was allegedly intimidated by Stuart James on the sidelines of Fadil Adams' testimony.
Troubling scene indeed, Canny. But while we have you, I think it's worth also reflecting on the business of the day for the Commission's programme, because Fadil Adams' appearance has now been postponed to tomorrow morning. At issue is the time that he needs to listen to a recording that's going to be very central to the leading of the rest of his testimony. Let's talk about what that recording, or at least what we know that recording deals with.
Well, that recording is the consultation with state advocate, or rather IDAC state advocate Jushanta Ramsamy, where she alleged that there was not much that could go forward with that particular matter. But he says that in that recording, Ramsamy had communicated to him that there were at least 2 cases that they could move on subsequently from that particular consultation. And that's quite critical because at the very least what we've heard so far with the IDAC evidence is that there was no prima facie case on the project diversion matters, and that leads us to the alleged sinister motive that could have followed these crime intelligence matters, or at least that's what the evidence is suggesting. And in order for him to properly interrogate this recording, he needs to be given an opportunity to listen to it in totality before he responds to it and actually gives the Commission his piece on the version of events. Currently, though, even with the recording that he disputes, there's still evidence that precedes the Section 27 referral affidavit that he struggled to explain, and that is the rush upon which that he chose to open those cases in the different areas, that is the Western Cape and the Gauteng being the Orlando SAPS, and how he didn't even give an opportunity for the matters to be investigated as per that document that he said was slid under his door that was classified. And it started with a forklift issue, but he says that he opened a case on a number of issues relating to crime intelligence. But it's the timeline and the sequence of events that seems quite fishy in this regard, because he didn't give an opportunity for neither the Western Cape or the Gauteng province, that is the Orlando SAPS, to investigate these matters. Instead, what you see is a scenario where it seems, or allegedly appears, that he's just covering his grounds to pave way for these cases to go off to IDAC for a Section 27 referral, because it cannot be argued that you would have had 24 hours and then that was enough time for you to know that your dockets were intercepted or that the matters were not going to be investigated because you were dealing with a complaint against high-ranking generals. It is that complication and the haste and the specific choice of certain police stations, particularly in the Gauteng province of Orlando SAPS, coupled with the fact that Witness G has given testimony here stating that he told Adams to go to the Orlando SAPS. That's already suspicious, because Witness G is the so-called handler of Brown Mokotsi, who has shown a pattern of having an MO of trying to allegedly build cases against these high-ranking generals, namely Lieutenant General Dumisani Khumalo and Top Cop General Fani Masemola, and allegedly also trying to go after the PKTT with the hopes of getting to the formers that have stated before that. So that is certainly a lot of evidence that he is set to get through tomorrow when he returns with the commission at 9:30 a.m. And the whole task here is about finding out whether the events that precede the Section 27 referral point to a person that was making a legitimate complaint, or does it point to an individual that was allegedly part of this alleged orchestrated attack on those high-ranking generals within the South African Police Services.
And just lastly, Canny, at some point, Fadil Adams was basically scolded for referencing, whenever he couldn't explain his actions, deferring basically to information that he claims he received from, let's say, a good friend who was in the police service, the now late retired head of the anti-gang unit in Cape Town.
Have you ever